Welcome back, students. Today we will continue with where we um, stopped in the previous tutorial. And yes, so today we will be talking about students. We will be talking about the invasions, um, the Muslim invasions from Northwest during this period, as well as the kingdoms of the South, right? And particularly in the Chola Empire. Okay, so now, students, first we have Mahmud of Ghazni, right? Now, Mahmud of Ghazni, Ghazni is a place in Afghanistan, right? It was a very powerful kingdom, okay, and it was very powerful. He had conquered parts of not only India but as well the Europe as well as the Roman empires as well, right? So what had happened was, and what led to his invasion in India was the fact that he had heard that India was very rich, right? And he wanted to make Ghazni, this place in Afghanistan, where he was from originally, the most powerful kingdom, right? So what he did was that he decided that he will raid India. And students, you would be amazed to know he sent his armies from Afghanistan to India in the subcontinent 17 times in 25 years between 1000 AD and 1025 AD, right? And he defeated the rulers of northwest India and plundered the cities, temples, and palaces. Why? Why would he plunder the cities and temples? Is because the wealth that he would take back, he would use them for his army and to build a very beautiful capital city at Ghazni, right? And the most famous raid, students, that he had was the raid at Somnath Temple in Kathiawar. Somnath Temple, students, is in Gujarat, right? And he was very successful because he was a very well organized general, right? And he took care of his army. He was very good at planning and organizing. So that is how he was able to achieve so much, right? So how we know a lot about how he went about things and what happened through a book known as Kitab-e-Hind. It was written by Al-Baruni, right? Wherein he's given details of the subcontinent as well as the invasions, right? And he was asked by Mahmud of Ghazni to write on the subcontinent. Then Mahmud was never defeated, students, in India or Central Asia, but he died in 1030 AD. Okay, so after his death, the empire weakened, right? And just to show students, this is Somnath Temple of Gujarat, which he conquered and plundered, right? Uh, Not plundered exactly, but looted, then raided, in fact. So, and this is just to show an extent of his conquest, right? Uh, Next, what we have is the Ghurids. Now, students, Ghor, right, was one second, right. So now, students, Ghor was initially a part of the Ghaznavid territory, right? But what had happened, he would pay homage. He was a vassal, in fact. Vassals, so they would pay taxes to the um, Mahmud of Ghazni, right? It was a part of the Ghaznavid territory. But then what happened was that when the empire weakened, right, Gore decided that it was time to be independent, right? And so he decided that he would become independent and he started taking control over Ghaznavid territories. He started conquering them and started expanding his own control. Okay. This led to the rise of Muizuddin Muhammad, also known as Muhammad Ghori. And he became very powerful through these conquests. Because this was a time wherein Mahmud of Ghazni had died and there was no one to take over, um, no one as strong who could keep the empire together, right? Then he attacked and conquered Multan in 1175 AD. And in 1178 AD, he was defeated by the rulers of Gujarat. So what he did was that he took a setback. So you students, this is also the period wherein Gujarat was very rich because it was a coastal place as well as a lot of trade took place. So they were very rich. They were very strong, right? We've read about this previously in this chapter as well. So in 1178 AD, the Muhammad Ghori was defeated by rulers of Gujarat. He took a setback and he based himself in Punjab for some time, right? And he prepared for conquests to Delhi and Ganga Valley. Why? Why Ganga? Because Ganga is supposed to be very rich, very fertile, right? And this is the period wherein Prithviraj Chauhan was ruling the this particular region. This led to the first battle of Taren, right, in 1191 AD, wherein Muhammad Ghori was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan, right? So now what happens is he gets back, Muhammad Ghori gets back, and he prepares himself for the second battle at Taren, right? And students, this is where Ghori defeated Prithviraj and he took over Rajasthan and Delhi. The next conquest came up with Battle of Chandavar in 1194 AD, wherein Gauri defeated Raja Jayachandra of Kannauj. So that is how he takes over the Ganga plain as well. Yeah, he takes over Delhi, Rajasthan, and the entire belt. Right now, between 1192 AD to 1206 AD, the Turkish rule extended over Ganga, Yamuna basin, the Bihar, Bengal. Right now, this is where Muhammad Ghori decided that he needs to go back. He needs to go back to his territory. So he left the territory in the hands of his trusted generals, Kutubuddin Aibak as well as Bakhtiyar Khalji. Right? And he said that you're supposed to be in charge of this territory, right? And take care of it for me. But while he was going back, he was murdered, right? On his way back to Afghanistan, he was murdered. But this is how Muhammad Ghori became the founder of Turkish rule in India, right? And this is just to give you an idea of the Ghurid Sultanate in 1201, right? So this is what the subcontinent looked like at this particular time. All right. On this note, students, we will now move to other kingdoms of South India. This is what was happening in North India, right? This is what was happening in North India. Now we will move to another part altogether. We will move to down south here, the Cholas. But Cholas started small, students, right? So you had the most important and famous kingdoms in South India at that particular time were the Pandyas, Pallavas, and the Cholas, right? So this is the Pallavas, the Cholas, and the Pandyas. So the capital is around Madurai, right? Pandyas ruled around Madurai, and we get a detail about the Pallava kingdom, about the Pandya kingdom through accounts of Marco Polo, right? And this kingdom declined in the 14th century. Whereas when we talk about the Pallavas defeated by Cholas. So these Cholas took over the Pallava kingdom, right? They were very powerful during the 7th and the 8th centuries. The capital was at Kanchi. They built very beautiful temples, students, right? And they were defeated by the Cholas in 9th century, right? So now let's go down to Cholas. Cholas is the most important, right, part and something that we will be focusing on in detail in this chapter as well. So Cholas was founded by Vijayalaya, right? And the capital was Tanjore. Now it is known as Tanjavur, but at that time it was known as Tanjore, right? Cholas rose to power between 800 and 1200 AD, right? This is the extent, students, of the Chola Empire, right? I want you to look at the trade routes, the Chola territory, as well as the influence. These are the trade routes, right? We will be talking about different trade that they had with different countries. We will be talking about territories that they annexed, the territories that they conquered, right? And the territories that they influenced. Yes. So the Cholas who started real small students, that's how big they went off to. And how did this all take place? We will now try to understand. So first we have is that the founder was Vijayalaya, right? Vijayalaya who founded the empire, right? And he built the capital of Tanjavur, right? Now let's move to the first, the next one, the next important king is Raja Raja Chola, right? He was a very good administrator, students, right? He's also known as Raja Raja 1. Now, what he did was the different kind of techniques that he used to expand his control. One is to access the Arab trade. He defeated the Cheras at Thiruvananthapuram. He wanted to access the Arab trade, take control over it. He defeated Cheras at Thiruvananthapuram. He controlled the Malabar coast by defeating Pandyas of Madurai and the Cholamandalam coast. So you see, he's trying to take over the coastal areas first, right? And he believed in having a strong navy, in having a strong navy presence, and that is how he was able to occupy Sri Lanka's northern parts as well. He went off to another other countries to conquer students through a very strong navy, right? That's how beautiful this is. He defeated the Chalukyas in the Deccan. He even conquered the Maldives Islands successfully and built beautiful temple of Brideshwar in Thanjavur. I think I have picture here as well. Yes, this is the beautiful temple of Brideshwar in Thanjavur. Thanjavur is the capital city. I hope you can see how beautiful architecture, the sculptures, it's just beautiful, students. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go to this temple, definitely go and revisit history. Right. So this is Raja Raja Chola for us. Next we have is Rajendra Chola. Right. He was the son of Raja Raja 1. And during his time, the empire became even more powerful. He completed the conquest to Sri Lanka, while before that, the the navy was able to occupy only northern parts of Sri Lanka, right? This his son completed the conquest. They defeated Cheras, Chalukyas, right, and in the northeast the Palas. You see, he is expanding control, and his army even reached Myanmar. Right. People called him Gangai Konda Cholapuram, the conqueror of Ganga. And all of this was not the most adventurous part. The most adventurous part was his um, wherein he sent a large fleet in Southeast Asia against Sri Vijaya, right? Who was defeated by the Chola navy because he was trying to. So other kings, other kingdoms approached the Cholas and they said that, we need help because Sir Sri Vijaya is taking control of all the trade and making it very difficult for us to use this particular trade route of the Southeast Asia, right? So the Chola navy was sent, right, and they were able to defeat Srivijaya, right? So this is Rajendra Chola for you, right, students? And it is only towards the end of 13th century that the Chola Empire eventually declined. Right. This is Gangai Konda Cholapuram temple. Um, all right. Yes. So this is the Brideshwara temple in Thanjavur, and this is the Gangai Konda Cholapuram temple. All right. Now, students, I want to talk about the how Cholas were also culturally very strong, and how did they rose to prominence, right? What are the other structures that impacted and made them so big, right? So one is literature and language, right? So a lot of regional languages emerged at this particular time, students. You have Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, right? That were developed. What happened, something very striking feature for this particular time was a lot of famous literary works were translated in these regional languages, right? uh, that's another unique feature is the copper plate inscriptions, right? Now copper plate inscriptions, we find copper plate inscriptions and they tell us a lot about the cholas, the events, the conquests, the peoples, the land grants of the temples of the king of other important people, right? Then the writing system of evaluation, everything we get extensive detailed records on copper plate inscriptions and even other inscriptions. We found a lot of inscriptions on temple walls, on grants, on the lives of the people, right? um, so yeah, that's how literature and language we find a lot of information. Next is temples. I just showed you two very beautiful temples. So Thanjavur as well as Gangaikonda Cholapuram are examples of architectural and sculptural marvels. If you look at the sculptures, they are just beautiful, students. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So Chola temples were the centers. Now Chola temples, students, temples at that particular time, especially temples so big, they required a lot of maintenance, right? They became hubs. Temple became meeting places. A lot of cultural activities happened around these temples, and so you have dancers, you have singers, you have poets, right? You have a lot of these land grants. Temples had a lot of land on them, which required a lot of cultivation. So people lived around these temples, and they became big cities eventually, right? So settlements gradually developed around these temples, okay, and they became cities and towns. Okay, so Bharatnatyam was performed in the temples, and we find that they used to sing Carnatic style of music. Right. Next, we have is the sculpture. Students, beautiful sculptures we find from the Chola Empire, and the most distinctive of this is the bronze images. They would make sculptures of bronze, and it is said that it is finest in the world, right? So Natraj, which is an image of Lord Shiva, and which shows Lord Shiva is the Lord of dance, uh, is one of the most finest examples of Chola art, right? Let me show this to you. Yeah, this is the Natraj, right, which is from 11th century CE AD, Common Era, right? In Thanjavur in Tamil Nadu, and you can find this particular sculpture in the government museum in Chennai, right? And to show some of the other things, these are the coins. Look at these beautiful bronze images, students. This is from the Chola time. Just absolutely beautifully made. Such minute, minutely done. It's just beautiful to see something like this happening way back in the 12th century. Right? Look at these sculptures. This is, if I'm not wrong, from the Thanjavur temple, and this is again the Natraj image, the Lord Brahma and Lord Ganesh, right? Let me get back and cover trade with you. So trade, students, now you see how beautifully they just tried to cover all these coastal areas, right? The Chola Mandal coast and all of these other places, right? So the chief ports were Kaveri Patnam and Nagapatnam. Now, the Chola students traded with Southeast Asia, China, and even Greeks. Right. Uh, so we also have evidence of the fact that they established trade guilds, right? Because their main the main way through which they gained a lot of prominence was through trade, right? And these people, students, even internally. They use the profits from the trade for agriculture, irrigation, and that's how they internally were able to become so advanced. Right. Let me show this to you. So we have 1 second. Right. All right. So next is administration. Right. So administration, how was the administration? We will be focusing on administration, agriculture, and irrigation. How was it organized? Um, right. That gave the Chola Empire the glory as well as the recognition. Right. So king was the most powerful. Right. Now he took advice from a council of ministers known as Purohit. The empire was further divided into a lot of provinces known as Mandalam, looked after by governors. Now these governors came from the elite class. Right. The mandalams were divided into vandalas, the districts. So you have king, who's the most powerful. He takes advice from his council, known as Purohit. The empire is divided into provinces, which are known as mandalams. Mandalams are further divided into provinces, are divided into districts. Right. So if you see, you have the king followed by the ministers, followed by the empire is divided into mandalams, the provinces further divided into districts known as the vandalas, right? So large towns were known as Tanur, and towns were otherwise known as Nagarams. And a group of villages became the Nadus. Now, the most interesting feature is that they practiced a system of local self government, right? So, king would not dictate each and every term. People were themselves elect people as well as right form assemblies of their own to govern themselves. So this is how they practice local self-government, right? You have Ur Sabha and Magni Grams. So Magni Grams is the trading corporation wherein the traders, all of them, uh, formed the prices and came to conclusions on how to go about the trade, right? The Ur is the general assembly of people who were landowners. So all those who were landowners, they formed a general assembly, right? Known as the Ur, and that's how they operated. And they had a lot of sabhas. So sabhas operated through the committee. So they had a committee for everything. They believed in the committee system. For example, they would make committees for a temple building, road building, village, so development, water initiative committee. So they just divided all the work into committees. So that's how they operated. So irrigation committee. So they would form groups committees like this to work. So that is about administration. Then we have the agriculture, right? So we students during this particular time, we find beautiful developments in agriculture, which includes coming in of large scale cultivation. They also leveled lands and cleared forests. And the Chola students introduced the art of growing two crops an year. And they also excelled at cultivation of rice. So this is about agriculture and how rice became very they were really excelling in the art of growing rice, and they also brought in the concept of growing two crops a year, right? Next is irrigation. So irrigation is something very interesting, students, that they had a very well organized irrigation system. What they did was they divided the branches of Kaveri into small channels, um, and they also constructed embankments from time to time to prevent flooding, right? And for proper irrigation, they constructed canals, and we even have evidences of the fact that dam was constructed, and they also use artificial water cropping methods to grow crops, right? So once again, that they say that a great dam across the Kaveri River made Thanjavur the capital, the granary of the south, right? They had a lot of irrigation was beautiful. If irrigation is good, students, automatically the agriculture will be nice, and people will have easy access to water, right? So then what we have is the temples as well as kings. We have evidence that proves that temples and kings were heavily investing in agriculture and irrigation. And people were also taking interest in a lot of development initiatives, right? Uh, so that is how Chola student. All of this combined together is what made Chola so great, right? The Chola period is regarded as one of the most spectacular and remarkable periods in Indian history. In fact, to the extent that Hindu Empire reached other parts of the subcontinent, and till date, we find evidences of this Hindu Empire in the form that a lot of people outside India also uh, practice Hinduism, right? Um, so the Chola period is regarded as one of the most spectacular and remarkable periods in Indian history. The reason was that it exhibited all-round development and prosperity, right? Their achievements in the field of culture, warfare, agriculture, right, will be remembered through ages and is already remembered, right? On this note, thank you so much. I hope you've understood everything that we've covered and enjoyed it as well. Hope to see you soon in the next Zoom session. Till then, take care, all of you, and practice social distancing.